We all know what happiness is when we feel it.
Yeah.
That momentary burst of joy, maybe that deep sense of contentment. But if you actually try to pin down what happiness is exactly, or where it comes from, well, the answer gets surprisingly slippery. Is it just this lucky state you stumble into, or is it something you actively, build?
Oh, based on the material you shared, it is absolutely something you build.
Yeah.
It's less of a fortunate accident and much more like acquiring a skill, like learning an instrument or maybe a new language. It takes practice.
And that's really our mission today, isn't it? We're diving deep into research that kind of reframes happiness as, well, a construct, a skill set.
Yeah.
You can actually acquire and practice and refine over time. We want to pull out the most effective science-backed nuggets from this stuff, really help you gain some clarity so you can maybe start feeling overwhelmed by chasing happiness and actually start building it intentionally.
Yeah, and I think to frame this discussion properly, we really have to start with a crucial distinction. It's important. See, when experts talk about happiness, they realize it isn't just one monolithic thing. It's actually a combination of two key ideas.
Okay.
First, there's hedonia. That's the momentary positive emotions, the pleasure, the sort of instant gratification feeling.
Yeah, like the good stuff in the moment.
Exactly. And then there's eudaimonia. That's the deeper sense of meaning, flourishing, and really thriving in life. It's longer term.
So we're talking about both the quick rush and the kind of long-term project of living a good life.
Precisely. And, while the material focuses quite heavily on the skills we build, like resilience, positive thinking, that sort of thing, we do have to acknowledge the world around us.
Mm-hmm.
Happiness is definitely a skill, but look, if you've suddenly lost your job or you're dealing with some major external stressor, those surroundings, they're obviously going to profoundly influence your baseline happiness.
Right. I mean, building the skills helps you navigate that external stress for sure. But the stress itself doesn't just vanish because you decided to be more grateful today.
Exactly. Happiness seems to come from both inside us and from everything around us. It's both. But for this deep dive, we're really focusing on the actionable bits, the parts you can grab hold of right away, those essential happiness skills.
Okay, so let's start with what it actually feels like. Because, for someone who's been struggling for a while, they might almost forget what the goal state even is.
Yeah.
Our material goes beyond just joy. What's the texture of this more enduring happiness?
Well, it feels like a sustainable state of well-being. It's not necessarily peak excitement all the time, definitely not. It's more a profound sense of contentment, maybe ease and gratitude. It's the ability to find joy, yes, but maybe more importantly, it's like a stable place you can reliably return to when life inevitably throws a curveball at you.
Okay, a stable baseline. Now, if we want to build this feeling, the material is pretty insistent. There's no, one-size-fits-all plan you can just download and follow. Why is that personalization piece so crucial?
Well, because if you treat happiness like some generic to-do list, you're kind of missing the point, aren't you? Building happiness really requires looking inward first to identify your specific personal struggles. Like maybe you're already great at gratitude naturally, but you're just terrible at self-compassion or, say, setting boundaries. You need to figure out your specific deficiency and tackle that first.
Okay, so instead of trying to optimize everything at once, you zero in on the bottleneck. That actually sounds like a much more efficient way to get results. So what are the core skills then? What makes up this happiness skill set?
They tend to fall into pretty defined categories. You've got mindfulness, the ability to think positively, building resilience, generosity, practicing gratitude, and, this is critical, improving your social relationships. Building these skills fundamentally, well, it rewires how you process the world around you.
And what's helpful, I think, is that the sources break this down into really specific, actionable techniques. They talk about cognitive skills and behavioral skills.
Right. So on the cognitive side, we're talking about things like positive reappraisal. That's reframing a difficult situation in a more positive or constructive light. Or improving your positive emotional memory. That basically means making sure you spend time really savoring and internalizing good moments so they become easier to recall later on. Build up a reserve,
Yeah, I like that. And then on the behavioral side, these are the actual activities we can do today. I love the examples here. The deliberate act of savoring the moment, maybe going for what they call an awe walk, or consciously living according to your explicit values.
Mm-hmm. And even simple things like creating gratitude notes or just keeping lists, the main point is that these are not necessarily grand, sweeping gestures. These concrete exercises, whether it's, say, expressive writing to process emotions or just spending 5 minutes on an all walk to shift your perspective, these are the incremental building blocks.
Okay, so these exercises form the foundation. But, I mean, what good is a perfect plan if you're constantly just running into the barrier of stress or anxiety or just general negative emotions?
Yeah, that's the reality of the modern world, isn't it? The material points out that stress isn't just unpleasant. These negative emotions can actively prevent you from effectively pursuing a happiness plan. They literally block your capacity to engage in positive reappraisal or to focus on gratitude when you're feeling overwhelmed. So you absolutely need stress-reducing strategies ready to handle those inevitable challenges just so you can get back to your skill building more quickly.
Okay, that leads us to a really crucial clarification, I think. Happiness is not some enduring state of, like, ecstasy.
Right.
We are all going to experience emotional ups and downs. If you're constantly chasing that peak excitement feeling, you're probably always going to feel like you're failing.
Exactly. We need to adjust the goalpost, maybe. We should probably strive more for contentment and gratitude, even when that peak excitement isn't there. And this is achieved, the sources say, by developing what they actually term a positivity reflex.
A positivity reflex. Okay, what's that?
It's about being able to recognize and, slightly shift your perspective even when things are objectively bad. It makes the bad times feel a bit less overwhelming, and it helps maintain a higher overall emotional baseline. It's like a muscle you build.
That sounds much more realistic and actually attainable. Okay, now speaking of modern challenges, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Technology. So many people believe our phones, the internet, social media, they're fundamentally to blame for widespread unhappiness. What do the experts say?
Well, the analysis here is much more precise than just that sort of blanket condemnation. Technology is ultimately just a tool. It's neither inherently good nor inherently bad for our happiness. It only becomes detrimental when it actively interferes with your happiness skills.
Okay, can you walk us through that interference? How does that happen?
Sure. Think about it this way. If, say, late-night social media surfing consistently hinders getting restful sleep, well, that directly undermines your resilience, doesn't it? Or if constant notifications interrupt your ability to pay proper attention to your dinner companion, that harms your social relationships skill. So the technology itself isn't the villain. It's bad when it pulls your focus away from those core skills you're trying to build.
Right. And conversely, it can actually be a benefit sometimes. You could use apps specifically for skill building, or text a friend for genuine, meaningful support, or discover resources online that actually connect you to your purpose. So we don't need to, break up with our phones entirely.
No, not at all. We just need to outsmart our smartphones, as the material puts it. It's really about being mindful of how the technology intersects with your ability to focus on those, 6 core happiness skills we mentioned earlier. If it supports them, great, use it. If it interrupts them, then you need to set some boundaries.
Okay, right. Let's unpack this next part then, because here's where, for me anyway, it gets really interesting. Our material details 4 things that it claims most people get fundamentally wrong about happiness. These are the counterintuitive findings that kind of contradict a lot of the popular self-help stuff out there.
Yeah, this part is fascinating. Let's start with the first misconception, the one-size-fits-all lie. I mean, we are constantly bombarded by products selling a single magic fix, right? Just gratitude journals, just meditation apps, just positive affirmations. But the reality is, happiness only really comes easily when you find activities you genuinely enjoy and are actually willing to do consistently.
Yeah, that makes sense. If the recommended activity feels like a total chore, you're just not going to stick with it long term, are you? And then it won't yield any sustained results.
Exactly. You absolutely have to find your personalized fit. It's non-negotiable. Now, the second misconception deals with self-focus, and this is where it really challenges some traditional wisdom.
Okay, I want to focus on this one because it really does fly in the face of nearly all traditional self-help advice. We're constantly told to journal, track our feelings, be deeply self-aware. How can too much self-reflection actually be harmful?
Well, it seems too much self-focus can backfire, quite spectacularly in some cases. Activities that ask you to constantly track your emotions or analyze your feelings day in, day out. They can actually interrupt your ability to just be present in the moment. Think about it. The more you step out of an experience to analyze how happy you should be feeling, the less enjoyable the actual experience often becomes.
And I can see how for someone who might already lean toward anxiety or, neuroticism, constantly tracking their emotional state could just send them into a downward spiral of analysis like, why am I not happy right now? What's wrong with me?
Precisely. It seems to dampen positive emotions rather than boosting them for some people. Okay, so misconception number 3 challenges the idea that when you need to improve your happiness, the best thing to do is retreat and work on yourself alone.
Right, so alone time isn't the magic bullet. If your happiness-building efforts, whatever they are, consistently take you away from your social life, which, as we established, is a core happiness skill, you might actually be harming your long-term well-being.
Yeah, connecting with others is consistently shown to be one of the most powerful ways to increase happiness. So, prioritizing isolation over connection, even if that isolation is framed as self-improvement, could actually be counterproductive.
Wow. Okay, this leads directly into the fourth and maybe the most crucial misconception. This is the profound synthesis point, it feels like. Happiness is found not from within us, but from the space between us.
Yes, this is so critical because it forces us to remember that advice focusing only on internal skill building is, well, incomplete. Many causes of unhappiness are systemic or external, aren't they? They're in our potentially toxic workplaces, our sometimes broken communities, cultural pressures. If you only look inward for the solution, you completely ignore those significant external sources of friction.
So we have to look outside ourselves, too, to achieve that true, long-lasting contentment. Recognizing that our individual happiness is really tied to the health of our environment and, crucially, our relationships.
Absolutely. And that brings us quite neatly to our final segment, actually, where we look at the deep, almost primal connection between our physical health and our psychological happiness.
Right. The material here includes a really visceral anecdote. It involves severe, debilitating physical issues, things like chronic mold illness, parasites, severe gut health problems like SIBO. And the message seems crystal clear. Those kinds of physical realities just steal your capacity for happiness.
They really do. When debilitating health issues arise, the sheer energy and mental bandwidth required to focus on happiness skills, it's entirely stolen. It's gone. You simply can't focus on positive reappraisal or practicing gratitude when you are fundamentally compromised physically. Survival takes precedence.
So your body needs to be fundamentally sound, or at least functional, before the advanced skill building can really take root and flourish. Health becomes a kind of non-negotiable prerequisite.
And this ties right back into that internal-external theme we keep hitting on. If someone takes steps to control their exposure to environmental toxins, like the mold mentioned in the source material, or focuses seriously on improving their gut health, they are actively preventing their surroundings from negatively affecting both their physical health and their capacity for happiness.
Yeah.
It's all one integrated system.
Wow. Okay, so this deep dive has really fundamentally reframed happiness for me. It's a dual skill, isn't it? Combining that momentary pleasure, the hedonia, with deeper purpose, eudaimonia. And it's built through personalized, consistent action. We have to be highly critical of too much overanalysis, be mindful of our technology use, and really lean into robust social connection and our physical health.
Exactly. And if we take that really crucial finding seriously, that happiness comes not just from within us, but significantly from the space between us, well, this raises an important question for you, the listener, to consider. We often focus so much on our personal metrics, our own feelings.
Right. So what's the challenge we should leave them mulling over?
Well, if happiness truly resides significantly in that space between people, how might you fundamentally shift your efforts? Move away, perhaps, from solely individual tracking and intense self-focus, and concentrate more on improving the collective happiness or maybe the supportive dynamics of those immediately around you. Think about your family, your workplace team, your closest relationships.
Shifting the focus from the me to the we might just be the most effective and maybe overlooked happiness strategy of all. That was a truly crucial extraction of insight from the material you shared with us. Thank you for taking this deep dive today.